Welcome to Backyard Astronomy. Welcome to Dreamworld Observatory. Today we're going to have a look at a thing called AutoGuider and how to set it up. Come back and we'll see just how easy that can be. Alright, as you can see, it's daylight outside. As you saw the light coming in through the observatory up there. This is some of the kind of things that you would set up during the daytime and get everything working and put in all the sets. It's usually a one-time deal. Unless you change equipment or change guide cameras or something, you basically don't have to do anything else. Can you adjust it? Yes, you can adjust it, but you adjust it right through the program, even on the fly. You can do that. But the original setup, it should be done like this in the daytime. You just set it all up. Now, the only thing that's required is you'll have to hook up your camera, and I'm going to hook up the mount with it, but we won't open the observatory. Now, later on, we'll do the other part, which will be actually doing the calibration. And we will open the observatory, but we'll need to do that when it's dark, because we'll need to follow a star. Okay, so let's see if we can get down to business. Okay, before we actually go into PHD2, let's look at our setup for deep sky imaging. This is our little outline that we had for setting up each night when we go out to do an astrophotography picture. Now remember, now we have what they call pre-planning, and that we had imaginary number 3 down here. Well, tonight we're going to be looking at how to set up our AutoGuider, and this should be done as a one-time deal. It should already be installed in the program, and that's what we are going to be doing today. We're going to install PHD2. It's the program that's actually going to operate our AutoGuider. Okay, we're in PHD2 guiding program, version 2.6.5. As far as I know, that's the latest version. Now, this program is free, and it's from Stott Labs, and it's excellent. A lot of people use this program, not only because it's free, but because it is good and it's very easy to use. It's not that hard to set up either. There's just a couple of things in it that you probably never heard of before, but they're easily solved, and a lot of stuff can be just used as a default. Alright, when you first fire it up, it's probably not going to look like this. There is a section called View, and all these little items here that you see are things that you can install on the screen. Say, for instance, if I want a bullseye, I can put a bullseye. If I don't want a bullseye and I want a, let's see, a coarse grid instead, see? And we can also use a fine grid. Now, the way to get rid of them is pretty easy. If you don't want any kind of an overlay, just hit Note Overlay, and that takes care of that. Now, all these are dockable. You can take them and move them around and dock them to other areas. You can move that over to here and dock it to here, or you can move that down to the bottom. Some people like the graph down on the bottom, but for some reason I like it up at the top. So that's what we're going to do with it. Okay, when you once you get it set up like you want, and there's, the way to keep it is to cut it off and fire it back up. All you got to do is just close this out and it'll go away, restart it, and all those that you set will be there. So if you try to do something again, like say tomorrow, try to change one of these and you move it over here and you get it screwed up, you can always go right here to restore one of the positions, and it'll put it back the way it was, the way it was before you screwed up, if you haven't saved it. The way you're saving it is cut it off. So just remember that. Alright, so let's get started. First thing we want to do, now a lot of people go into the brain section to go ahead and set that up. Well, since we're going to do this just a teeny bit different, right now we're using the method of that you don't have it and you're fixing to install it, and that's what this is all about. And I'm suggesting that you go ahead and install the camera on your telescope, turn on your drive, and all this whatnot. That way, when we do this, we can set it up. Now, what we're going to do first is we're going to go over here to our equipment. The little equipment thing is like it looks like a USB plug. And you'll see a thing called the equipment manager. This is the management of the profile. So you're going to create your profile. Now right here you got a profile name. This is what I'm currently using. But I'm not going to use that. What we're going to do is we're going to pull down this and we're going to create a new one. And under the new one, we're going to call it, let's call it My Equipment. And we're going to call that a test. Okay, that way you won't get lost here. And you see down here, it will put in defaults for you. That's a way to get started. All you have to do is hit OK. Now, down here, we're under the one that you just created. Now, your camera, here's what you're going to do here. You're going to select your camera. Now, my camera happens to be Starshoot AutoGuider. So we'll plug that in. And right here, it gives you a chance to see if you've got two cameras or not. We're only going to be using one guide camera. So there's only one Starshoot camera AutoGuider in this. Now, we're not going to connect it yet. Down here, we're going to go to where I mount. Now, remember I told you that this particular guider has a it's kind of like a ST4 plug. It's that phone wire looking thing. Now this particular guider uses that. So we're going to be using what is called on camera. Now, auxiliary mount will be none. Now, once you've got this done, you can hit connect all and it will connect them for you. Now it's going to put in some defaults. We will probably have to look at them and see what we got. You need to get the specs for your camera, your guide, everything. The scope, the guide scope, and the camera itself. You need to have your little booklets with them, all your specs, so you can do this. Now, if you connect this, it'll be ready to go with the defaults. But right now, I tell you what, I'm going to leave this for now, and we'll see if it actually lets me do what I want to do. Let's go to the brain. In the brain here, we're going to look at, it's called Advanced Setup. We're going to look at Global. And these are the main ones that you set up. Like for instance, here the language will be English. We're going to leave that. Here's a log file. You'll probably want to leave it just where it's at. You can set it up somewhere else, but this is useful like you're going to make a PEC file, a periodic error file. Or if you have real trouble and you need to contact Start Labs or go on the forum, you'll have a log that you can post on there and someone can help you find out what it is. Now, pretty much everything on here, you just need to leave that on global. Just leave it just like it is. So we're going to automatically check for updates. I'd leave that way. I like to keep mine up to date. And I'm only checking for major releases because there's a lot of beta stuff that gets released that sometimes you may not want to do unless you really know what you're doing, because betas are kind of full of errors sometimes, and that's why they're out there, so people can operate them and with all different kinds of equipment and come up and help Start Labs fix it. All right, now you can turn on the diagnostic log, image log. You can do that if you want to. Other than that, pretty much everything down here needs to stay like it is. So let's go to camera. Now here's where it gets a little interesting. Now, the first thing you see on here is noise reduction. The choices are none, 2x2 mean, and 3x3 median. If your camera has a lot of noise in it, you can go with 2x2 mean, and that'll kind of clear it up a little bit. But the image is going. Pretty much the image for this camera is pretty good. We'll look at a couple of other things here that makes the screen look a little better for it, and you might think it's the camera, but it's really not. So we'll just look at something else. I usually keep this on none because my camera looks pretty doggone good, and I've never had no trouble with it. All right, the next thing is this thing called time lapse. Kind of keep that. It says how long, so you can roll over it and it'll tell you, so how long the PHD wait between guide frames. I don't usually set this for anything. I just leave it like it is. Auto exposure. The default is 1 second to 5 seconds. You can set that for half a second here if you want. I just leave mine here because I pretty much run my camera on. We're talking about the auto guided camera now. You're not talking about your main camera. This is all just the auto guided. So I usually keep it on 1. Target. Now it says here 6. I generally keep it on 9. Some people suggest you run it up a little bit. 12 might be good. But this is a automatic exposure. If you're looking for your a star. This is, you're looking at you're looking for a good target signal to noise ratio on the star that you want to use for a guide. Go ahead and put that to 9, and if it doesn't give you good results there, put it on 12. And if it gives you too much stuff to choose from, you can put it on 6. And like they've got it there. I've never used it on 6. I always have it on 9. It says here my camera is not connected. There's some other things down here that you can come up with, put on here, and down here, if you look at the bottom here, it says camera specific properties. This is the pixel size. Now you can actually turn the camera on and it will update this for you, and it will actually put your pixel size in here. If it doesn't, then you can put it in by hand. My camera happens to be, my pixel size happens to be 5.2. So if you don't have it, go ahead and just put it there. I don't think it's going to let you change it. That's an input from the camera. And you can turn your camera on. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's go ahead and turn the camera on so you can see what we're talking about. I'm going to connect all. And you can see it just popped up. Now, don't even pay no mind to this right here. That's why I didn't want this up here yet. I wanted to go over this with you. Let's look at this first. The camera has already updated this to 5.2. That field was actually put in another area. So I'm going to leave that like it is. And you notice nothing really changed here. All right, so we'll go to guiding. On the guiding, the first thing you're going to see is search region. That's 15 pixels. In other words, it's going to look around for in an area of 15 pixels and find a guide star. That's a search region it's going to be in. You can increase it if you want to. Default value is 15. I never had to move it to anything else. Works fine for me. Now, star mass detection. You need to enable this. And what this is going to do, the default is tolerance is 50. Now, what that means is, let's say you're out and you're tracking something, and all of a sudden you get these red screens flashing, you get this beeping and carrying on, you get these alarms. What that is you're losing your star, your tracking star. And if it's giving you a fit, you can increase this number. And that, wait, let me back up a second. That usually happens whenever it's a little bit partly cloudy, a little bit of clouds moving in, some thin clouds, and it'll block that star for a certain amount of time, and then it will say I don't have enough signal to noise ratio, and it'll let it go. So, and you'll see that in another spot. You can increase that if you want to, say, about 80, and that will kind of stop it. If it doesn't, you can actually cut that off. You can just cut it off right here, and just didn't know was to turn that off, and it'll quit alarming. Your tracking to go in and out. Let's see. Now, minimum star pixels. I don't even mess with that one. The focal length of your telescope. Now, here's some information that we got to put in. Now, you'll need to. Now, you don't. My telescope is. My guide scope, I'm sorry, is 400 millimeter. Your telescope, guide scope, might be different than mine. So don't copy mine. Oops. don't copy mine, just put in your own. Shoot. Yeah, I do things weird too. Don't copy mine, just put in what yours really. You need to get your specs that goes with it. If you don't know, go on the internet and Google it. Look up your actual guide scope and it'll have it. But mine's 400 millimeter. The calibration step size. Now, that will actually populate if you have your scope on and your camera on out there. It will actually populate for you. If it doesn't, here you can put it in. There is a way to calculate that number for you. And let me finish the rest of this page and we'll come back to this. There's some more information that goes in there. Auto restore calibration. Here is where, if you have an observatory, a permanent mount, you'll probably want to check this, because a permanent mount pretty much keeps all of its good alignments and stuff. They're pretty good. But if you're setting up a tripod nightly, you'll probably want to run a new calibration. Now that's what this is for. Because you're going to have to run your star alignment, your polar alignment and all this. And this number, will it run? Yeah, you can use your other one if you want to, but it may not be very good. It may not be as good as you want, because every time you put that telescope down on a tripod, every time you set that thing up, you may be a little bit off. It's good. The calibration doesn't take no time to run. You'll see that later. But you need to run a calibration if you're running on a tripod. Pretty much every night, once a night when you go to set. If part of your setup, just run calibration and be done with it. But if you're on a permanent mount, I would suggest go ahead and select this, because I'm on a permanent mount and that's what I'm going to be doing. Assume deck. You don't want to check this. If you want to check this and you're going to assume that, then you've got a major problem. I don't even know why that's in there. Just leave it out. Just don't even worry with it. But you do probably want to use deck compensation. I've got that checked for deck backlash. You know, you may want to, and if it doesn't do you, if you don't meet it, take it off. But that's what it's for. It's a compensation for any kind of backlash. Shared parameters. Always scale images. I don't do this. I don't know why they got that there. I really don't. Reverse the deck output after medium flip. I don't do a medium flip on a permanent mount because I got a fork mount. It doesn't do a medium flip. If you need this and you've got a medium flip, you can check it. Be aware, if it's not doing what you think it do, come back to here and check that out. Fast recenter after calibration or a dither. Yes, you need to check this. There's no reason not to. Just go ahead and check it, and once you're doing the calibration, it'll go right back real quick to the star and keep on, and it'll turn itself right back on. Enable mount guide output. You would think that would be a dummy, but you need to check this. And you wonder, why do I need to check this? Ain't that what I'm doing? Well, sometime if you're trying to create a periodic error table, you'll need to cut this off. That would be another video if anybody requests it. I don't even run one on mine, so I just leave that check and go on about my business. Algorithms. Now, I'm not going to say a whole lot about these because we'll need to do these when we get this thing set up and ready to run. But I will tell you right here, this is what I've got in here. What it's done is it's populated with what I've got pretty much already in my scope. It's riskiest as for the right of session. Now, this is what you want to put in. There are some other options here. I don't run those. I only run this one. Leave it there. It's a smoothing algorithm, and what that's for is if you have some motion, say on right of session, it just keeps it. If you got a lot of motion back and forth, what it does is there's some nuisance stuff in there that it moves and so tiny that you can smooth this out, so it'll smooth your graph a little bit. In other words, it'll take some of that back and forth all the time out that's just constantly going on. but that will smooth it down and make it a little bit easier to read. Put this on 10 for a start. I think that well, they do have the default is at 10. The default is at 10. If you need more smoothing, turn it up. That's a percentage, so you can turn that on up. Highest I've ever seen, I've played around with it, I've had it up to 15. I didn't see no reason going higher. Quite frankly, it runs pretty good at 10. The aggressiveness, and these two kind of work together. The aggressiveness is say, for instance, how much you want this to move. It's kind of like the power, how much you want it to take out. That's 70%. If you had it and it needed to move, say, 0.5 pixel, you can set that for 70, and that'll pretty much take out about 2/3 of that. It'd be 0.3. And it'll leave the other there. And that would kind of, if you put it on 100%, you're going to start that business of back and forth real fast, and then, you know, but you can always, if you did that, some people put this on 100, and I think the default might be 100. Let me see if it's got that here. No, actually it's 70. So I've got it on the default. I might be telling you a little bit of falsehood there, because I believe my setup is a little bit different from these. These are the defaults. I think we had the things set to go with defaults, and so that's what we're getting. I may have something different there. I may have 65 or I may have 80. I don't remember. Because see, once you do this, you'll play with this later, like I'll show you. Minimum move. Set this. You kind of want this kind of down low. It's like how many fractional pixels must a star. Let me read that again. Must a star move to trigger the guide pulse? If a camera is bending, if it's bending, this is a fraction of the bending pixel. It's just like what we was talking about up here. That's the minimum move that it's got to move before it triggers. And this is how far you want it, how much you want, and this is the minimum to trigger the move. Kind of two different things, but they work together. All right, on destination, we're going to. This one over here has some options, but I think pretty much everybody uses resist switch. I do, and apparently that is the default also. I use that. That kind of keeps, you know, a lot of telescopes don't want to use, you don't have a one drive on them. You don't need a destination drive. That's the one you just set. And the right of session is where it tracks around. You want to put this on resist switch. That would be the thing to do. Now, this is the allograms for it. Aggressiveness, set that at 100%, and just that'll just sit there, and if you need to adjust it, go for it. I think pretty much that's the default, and I think pretty much everybody actually does that. Min move or minimum move is, you can go ahead and set it the same as it did the other. Usually that's going to end up being a little bit more. I think on mine I do have it more. You'll have to play around with it, and I'll show you where we do that. The other one is a fast switch for large deflection. You can cut this off or on. That's up to you, whatever you want to do. It says ordinary, the resist switch will allogram wait several frames before switching directions. If you have this on a fast switch, you're going to see a lot of big spikes going on, and you'll be wondering what's going on. And what it is if something like for instance at the end of a div or something, and this thing will be trying to really shoot it over there and take up for it. You may not want to do that. You can pretty much cut that off. Play with your algorithms over here after we get them ready to run. And there's another thing that you'll run when we go to do that will actually help whether or not you need to set that. It will actually tell you if you need to. So don't worry too much about it, but for me, I got mine off. All right, let's step over this side. The max RA duration. Set that at 2500. I think that is the default. Leave it there. I don't see no reason to move it. I did see somebody the other night had that thing set up at 3500. I don't know why. It just seems like to me if you're hiding something that needs to be set here. This is maximum if you need it. Don't use it unless you need it. If you've got to increase that, you must have something really screwed up here. So I would play around with these figures. In other words, these figures are so located in another location and they're easy to get to while you're actually working with your scope. Next thing is backlash compensation. You can enable that or not. That's up to you. If you have a lot of backlash going on, you can actually go ahead and turn that on. That's just something you'll have to play with and check it yourself. But this is for your deck now. This is not for right of session. You can tell if your red line is going crazy, you may want to turn this on. Max decoration, same thing. Just put the default in. In fact, the default will already be there. Leave it. Deck guide mode. Now, the default I think is auto. You'll probably want to leave it on auto to start with, and then when you run the test that I show you in later, you'll determine there where you need to do this. You'll be able to tell it just by looking up here, and you'll see what you need to do. So start off with it in auto. Okay, that's going to pretty much take care of those. Now, let's look at the screen itself. All right, we've set up the brain, so we don't need to mess with the brain no more. And we don't need to do anything else right now. Up here, this is our graph. This is where it's going to show you where that output's going to be, what's happening. And also, right here, you got a table to set up for what you want to do here. Now, this is going to be how many steps you're going to have in it. And right now I've got it, it's on the default of 200. You can increase that however you want. We can't really see what that's going to be except like this. You see, you can either have it this way or you can have it like that. I find that to be useless. Pretty much you can have it here, but I think I have mine setting right here. Now that's going to crunch them up, but it's going to show you a lot of them at one time. I got mine on 400, I think, so I'm going to leave it. If you don't like it that way, change it. It's not going to hurt anything about how it works. It just hurts it. It just shows how it's displayed to you. Now here is on the Y. Now this is how much deflection you're going to have. And this is, it's going to show you this. Right now it's setting on 16. In other words, that's 16 and that's 16. This is going to make the graph pieces a little smaller. Like for instance, you'll be bouncing around somewhere in here. If you don't like that and you want to spread it out a little bit, you can set it on 8. You notice now, it's spread, there's a 2. I'll go back, let you see that. It's on 16, 2 is, you don't see. This is 0. Okay? So if you put it on 8, there's 2 now. Here's 0, and there's 2, 4, and 6, and there's 8. You can go, now what this is going to do, I'm sorry I hit the wrong one, is if you did it on 4, look at this. You may have big old deflections like this, a big old bunch of them, because these are going to be packed. A big old bunch of, I can't read that. I pretty much have mine probably either on 8 or 16. I'm going to leave it at 8 right now. I'm not going to suggest anything else. But 2, so what you're going to have now, this is going to be normally what you're going to have somewhere around in this area here, close to 2. So these are going to be big. Now if you don't like that, it makes you nervous because it makes you think there's something wrong with it, put it on 16. 16, I'll crunch it down and make the little graph like this if you feel better about it. It's just eye candy. I mean, but if you really need to see what's going on, you need to spread it out a little bit and find out what's happening. Okay, the settings. Let's go to settings. Default for this is the RA and deck, and they've got arc seconds. That's what I got. I think the default is actually pixels. Don't put it on pixels. go with arc seconds. Pixels is not going to tell you a whole lot. To me, it's not. You need to put on arc seconds. So go ahead and put it there, and that's what it's going to read down here. The next thing is timelines and corrections. Now timelines, just leave that off. The timelines is going to come in when you're running another little program that's like you're doing drift align. It's going to show. It's going to come on automatically. So you need to leave it off for now. There's no reason to have it on because you're going to have enough stuff on the screen as it is, unless you're running a drift align, and it would turn it on automatically. Corrections, I don't know why they have this way. To me, you'd want to see the corrections. Now you're going to have the motion of the telescope just like this going on, however it's doing. You're going to see some red lines that are straight they're like a bar graph, and you're going to see some blue ones. Those are the pulses from your autoguider. If you're going down like this, and the autoguider is going to put a whole bunch of bars there, and those bars are the pulses that's going to be bringing it back up. That's what that's for. I like to see the bars just to make sure that it's actually working. That's up to you, but personally I think you need to leave that on. This right here is the graph that shows you how much error you have and tracking. What you want right here in total, now this is your RA and this is your DEC. The total, you like to keep, you notice it's in decimal, you like to keep it under 1. In other words, 0.8 is probably acceptable because and you might come up sometime, might be running 0.5. Now that's a total of the two. It's not just one of them, that's the total. So, but you want to have this under 1. If it's over 1, you're probably either got a lot of wind going on out there, or you didn't level your scope, or you haven't done drift align lately. It all depends on whether you're on a portable mount or you're on a permanent. If you're on a permanent mount and it starts getting off like that, you probably got wind going on, or seeing's really bad. So seeing will affect it, wind will affect it, things like that. But if you're on a portable mount, you need to really keep watch on that, and you really do need to run your drift align and you make sure you got your polar line. All right, that's going to do about all we can do there. Now these little numbers we see down here, those are these very ones that we saw. I'll show you where they come from. They're over here in your algorithms. Those are these answers right here. You need to well, that's what you can either put them in or you can work them over here. Now, right here we got right accession aggressive. And we got 70. Hysteresis is on 10. Memo is on 20. Same thing all the way down. This is, and now right here, the only reason we don't have a deck, I think it's a deck aggressive. You got aggressive. You got the memo. All right, we got everything here. Okay. But you don't see hysteresis over here on this one. The reason is because we are running auto. No, we're running resist switch. If we put it on hysteresis, you'll have it. Now we don't have it over here. You got the aggression, the memo, and you got the scope, right accession, max, and the deck is max. Now right here is, remember that auto. And you can determine that later. Leave it on auto to now. When we run the program to fix that, it'll tell us what we need to do. Okay, I think that's pretty much what we can do here. There is one more thing that we can do without turning on the scope. Well, at night, see, this is done with the cover on the camera. And since I have the cover already on the camera, when we're talking about the guide camera, since it's already on the autoguider, the cover's on it, we can actually do this. The way to do this is you can turn this on, and I'll show you. This is how you turn the scope on. Now I've turned the scope on, and the reason that it's lit up like that is because the cover's on it. So if you did this and you saw that, and you look down here and you see that, now this little line right here is not how strong your camera is. All that is to do the screen for you. You can adjust that to your liking. Now, right now, the reason that's like that is because we have the cover on the camera. And what we're going to do is we're going to run a little program here. And let's go up to Tools. Some of these tools we can't use until they hook up at night. Now, we're going to run a... I need to look and see that we have... Probably not. We can go. Let's just go ahead and do auto. We can't do that. We need to do. I don't want to. I keep wanting to do calibration, but I can't do it tonight. I'm looking for my dark. There it is. Okay. Now we need to do. It's telling me I can't run it. Okay. I guess we're not going to run the dark catalog until we turn it on. Right there. We'll just have to wait. I was pretty doggone sure that I could do this here. I don't see a way to do it. That's review calibration data. Now this will be, it may be calibration from my old one, but you don't want to run that. There is no calibration data, so we haven't run it. Alright, so that's good. And we can't run it yet. I want to show you a couple of things in here. There's not much else to show you as far as the tools go till we hook it up. There's the guiding assistant, which we will do after we get it, after we run a calibration and get it going. Then the drift line that's here, you'll be able to do it. And there's a polar drift line if you wanted to do that, if you needed to do that. You can do that too. I can't do it. I have to use drift line because I can't see pole star. Okay, hoping we could. There's a bad pixel map. There's an import from profile. I can actually use, I wanted to make a new dark one, but I don't know if it's going to let me do it. Import from profile. There's none. Bad pixel map, dark library, camera in profile, choose profile, dark library you want to use. Nope, we don't want to do that. I wanted to run one. I guess once you run it, I've already run one, so it's going to use it because of my camera that's on there. You'd have to run it. If it's not one there, you can run it, and it's something that you just leave the cover on and run it. It runs it by itself. I'm not going to destroy mine because I've already got it what's tracking with that one. So can import it, and it'll probably give it to us. Let me see if I can get it. Import. See, I can import it from this one. Ha! I don't have it on that one, but I'll see if it'll give it to me. That's not correct. We don't want to use that. That's a different camera. Okay. Can't do it, but just have to run it when you first put it in. You create your dark file. Once we turn everything on, it'll probably give me an option to be able to kill that one and run a new one. I don't see a way to actually stop it. See, it wants to. I can do a bad map here. Exposure time. That takes a long time. Acquire master dark frames for pixel map. Dark frame. Oh, there's my dark frame. We can do a start right there. Cover guide scope. I did. And we'll let that run. And we'll see what it does. Number of exposures is going to be 25. Exposure is going to be 15. And here we go. Now, what this is doing, now you'll need to do this on initial setup. Now, what's going to happen, it's going to use this one on my other one too. It's going to go and it's going to find all of the hot pixels. And it's going to, basically, it's going to make a catalog of them and so that you won't have them in your pictures. These won't be for your pictures. This will be for tracking. it'll take those hot spots off of your view up there, and you won't be locking on them. You don't want to lock on to something that looks like a star and it turns out to be a hot pixel. If you did, you won't have very good tracking because it won't be moving. It'll be fighting itself, and eventually you might get an error message telling you that nothing's moving or something. This is going to take a little while to do. So I tell you what, I'm going to let it run, and we'll give that a chance to run for us. Okay, we're getting pretty doggone close now. It's right about 24. I only got 2 to go, and it'll be finished. While we're waiting for that, this is supposed to, like I said, clean up your hot pixels on your for the guide camera and make things a little easier to run. This is a one-time deal. Now you can update this. You can run your new one once you get going. But basically speaking, it's pretty much you wouldn't have to do it very often anyway. Now it says now I can uncover my camera. But this is not going to do us any good. Now this right here is something that I probably should have left on because it needs to do this. I need to do this. Bad pixel mount is now being used. This is what we need to run to make. It's going to show master details. If you wanted to rebuild it, that's where I should have gone to rebuild it. Now it's going to show us all this, and right here's a lot of information about this. It shows I got this particular camera, and I can generate what is called the bad pixel table. I will go ahead and just let it do that, and new bad pixel table now being used. So that's pretty much what you want to do. Now if you found one that was on your screen and it's been bugging you, and every time no matter where you see this one, that's a bad pixel. It's a new one. You can come to this right here, what we call it refine, and right down here you can click on that, and it will add that one to your bad pixel file. Other than that, we are pretty much done with this. For now, we're going to have to do outside with a night star and all that. But like I said, the next thing we will do is uncover our scope when it gets dark, and we will continue on. So I'll come back when it's dark and we'll finish up. Okay, that concludes the portion of setup altogether. The actual part where we install PHD2. Now remember, this should already be installed. It should already be set up in your imaginary number 3 on a rainy day or any time when you're not shooting. Now, calibration will be done in a different portion, and calibration can be done at any time. So, if you like what you saw, click like below. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe and ring the little bell. That way you'll get a notification every time we post a new video. So until next time, this is Stan Bone from Backyard Astronomy. Keep looking up.